So we are in Clovis, California, getting ready to work on this Navian unit. It was installed by another plumbing contractor, and so there were just a couple of issues. You know, we usually do this too. If we're close enough, we'll take that half-inch line over there and tie it into the gas. And Navian's real good. It typically fires if you're within 20 foot of the main line, so that looks good. Cold and hot water looks like it was rerouted at some point, maybe. If this was a stand, it looks like there was a stand in here at one point, I can see down here. So it was a tank type water heater. But it does, one of the good things, it has a recirc line, even though it's only half-inch, which is, I'd like to see 3/4. It does have a dedicated return line, which allows for recirculation, so that's good. A little bit of scaling on that 3/4 female adapter up here. This adapter, you can see the white running down, which would seem to indicate that there's some kind of leaking going on. Whether or not it drips to the floor, I don't know, but you can see it drops off onto this 90 as well. So you might have a problem there, not real sure. You know, it's got a union in there, so you can break it apart and resolder that if you have to. Right now we've gone ahead and taken apart that Jomar flush valve, so we've gone ahead and taken the caps off those, drained the water heater down, getting ready to flush this unit. Got the relief valve open. One of the things that did happen, this PVC line came down, they tied it into the relief valve line, the discharge line, and that's a no. You can't run that because it's a pressured line. That's to let you know that something's wrong with this unit. It's relieving pressure out of there. It's a pressure only, it's not a temperature because it's a tankless unit. But what's happened is underneath here, maybe you can see there's a hole blown through the bottom of the copper, and that's from the acid in the water. So what we're gonna do is take that apart, get this either a 90 on there, see if we can get that piece of copper, this little piece of copper out of there, put a new one in there and cap it off. We'll probably just replace this with a 90, just sweat that off, put a 90 on there, and then go ahead and take this PVC line down and around the corner here and stub it out the wall to the exterior, somewhere out here next to the relief line. This actually is in the wall and then comes over to here and then down. It's somewhere in there. Anyways, we'll get that stubbed out. We'll start flushing it right now, and then we will take another video when we're done. So we're still here in Clovis, California, and we are flushing this unit right now. So we've got good flow going through the heat exchanger. It all looks good. One thing we did run into, you know, in the first part of this video, I'm gonna put all three of these together. We noted that the condensate line was tied into the relief valve, and it had eaten a hole through the bottom. That liquid coming out is acidious, and apparently the PVC can handle it, but not copper pipe. So we're gonna repair the copper lines, put a 90 right here. We're also gonna rerun the PVC line. What we did find when we took this apart is that this is a PVC coupling. And as you can tell, and as you know, if you install Navian, whatever you want to call it, normally there are threads on this little stub out right here. So right now you can see this pipe goes on right there, but it's supposed to be a thread, this is supposed to be a female adapter that actually screws on. What's happened is those threads are snapped off. That is, I mean, it happens because once you thread something on there, and you bump this pipe in any way, it just snaps the threads off. It's happened to me in the past, so, you know, I'm not saying that you're the worst plumber in the world if it happened to you. He did try and repair it. He glued it on with a coupling, and so this just came right out. It wasn't glue. I'm not sure what kind of glue he used or what he tried to seal it with, but it didn't glue onto there. So I'm not sure what material that is. I imagine it's PVC. We're going to put more primer and glue on it and tie back in because that's the only way we have to tie that in. We are going to try and take and tool this portion right here. You can see where it heads off to the side right there and up. We're going to try and take and just shave a little bit of that off so we can get a little bit better bite with the coupling up there. That's the only thing we can do to try and get this back in line. So anyways, it's still flushing. We're going to work on the copper and then work on the PVC line, getting it out. We'll take another video when we're done. So we're still in Clovis, California, and we're done flushing out this Navian tankless water heater. We got it plugged back in. We got the gas on. We had the homeowner run some water, so everything's looking good. So what we have done, we repaired this line right here. We showed you in the previous portion of the video that the pipe was damaged. It was tied into the condensate line, so you can see we've got that separated. It was broken. from the previous installer. The threads were snapped off, so we glued it straight onto that little adapter. Any trouble, we'll actually have to get up in there and replace the whole condensate, and there's little 2 screws that come out, cut that back out, pull it apart, put a new one in. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. That's part of the condensate right here as well. So we dropped it down, brought it out, got it nice and strapped down here so you could bump it and it's not going anywhere. We also strapped it to the exterior wall, went through the hole, and then out here we used just a whole ton of silicone. We're stubbed through, we got this drop down, so the condensate, the homeowner has this on here to divert the water. So it's silicone behind there just in the event you get any kind of moisture on this wall from raining, whatever, it's not gonna get into that hole that we drilled. So that one's good. We did find out after we replaced this relief line, we went ahead and cut the copper back to here because this piece of copper was damaged as well as the T. Put a coupling on 90. When we went to test it, we got a bunch of water out of this stem wall right here, which means this copper tubing in the wall, one of 2 things, it either drops down and then comes over and stubs out right there, or it simply comes straight over and down and out. So it's about right here at the same elevation as the condensate line, and we couldn't have, I guess we couldn't have tested it earlier because there's a big hole in the bottom of this line. So there's the actual hole in the bottom of the line right there. So we didn't want to run a bunch of water out of it and just had it flooding all over the garage. But once we got it tied back together, it's dumping water. So I would imagine the acidic nature of this condensate line, when it discharges, it doesn't damage the PVC, but it does the copper. So somewhere in here, the copper's damaged. And so what we would do, same thing as you can see that we've done here on the wall for the condensate line, we would take the relief line out. We would simply cut it back, put a cap on this and cap it off. We'd go ahead and take this copper line that we have, get it over against the wall, run it above the existing condensate line, and then go ahead and pop it out of the wall. Another hole, drill through, silicone, and put a cover plate on it, and that way that's fine. Right now it's really not an issue because the relief valve is only activated manually. There's no water in this line ever unless this builds up too much pressure. Not temperature, but pressure only on tankless water heaters. Too much pressure, this will pop off to relieve the pressure and you will get water out of it. But it's only 3 years old, so the valve's probably in great shape. I wouldn't worry about it. Homeowner's going to contact us if he feels like he needs to proceed with that. Everything else looks good. You do have, one thing I did let the homeowner know is you do have some water, looks like scale coming down here and then dropping down on this. And I don't see anything right now, so keep an eye on that. If you begin to get moisture out of there, let us know. We'll come out and take a look at it. Everything else looks good. I did just notice a little water on this line, which is the recirculation line, but it could have just been residual from when we were working on the unit. So as long as everything stays dry by here, you'll know. As soon as this dries up here, you get any dripping whatsoever, give us a holler. We'll come out and take a look at it. Anything else you need, great. Any problems with this, give us a holler. We'll come out right away and take care of it. Outside of that, this installation is done.